In this chapter, we'll discuss and practice several meditation techniques that address topics dealing with emotions, like how to cultivate compassion, how to deal with hurt, and how to cope with loss. All the techniques in this chapter belong to the third category of meditation, contemplation. The goal of these techniques is to remove undesirable patterns of thinking and replace them with healthy new samskaras, beneficial patterns of thinking. Among all the painful memories that can bubble up from your unconscious during meditation, those associated with hurt and resentment seem to exert the most pressure. Over the years, many who have attended my meditation workshops have told me that they continue to struggle with lingering hurt and resentment for years or even decades after an extremely painful event. Memories of those events can arise not only during meditation, but any time, triggering feelings of deep sadness, hurt, or anger. For these reasons, this lesson is specifically dedicated to dealing with hurt and resentment. You've probably noticed that most painful memories don't affect you much, but a few seem to retain their sting, so to speak, even enough to make you wince when you recall them. Why are those particular memories still so painful, even though the events are long past? The short answer to this complicated question is, it's likely that you were deeply hurt by those events, and your process of emotional healing is not yet complete. If you suffer a physical wound, like a deep cut in your leg, healing might require stitches, bandages, and antibiotics. Likewise, if you've suffered a deep emotional wound, if you were terribly hurt by someone's words or behavior, healing requires forgiveness, forgiving those who have hurt you. Only when you're completely free from anger, hurt, and resentment will your process of healing be complete. Until then, painful memories can continue to torment you. Some people who have been deeply hurt might object to this and say, but they don't deserve forgiveness. What they did was horribly wrong. They hurt me. Why should I forgive them? It's easy to understand feelings like these. But the fact is, forgiveness is not for the sake of those who hurt you. It's for your sake. Regardless of whether or not they deserve forgiveness, you deserve to be free from suffering and free from the sting of painful memories. It's easy to say you have to forgive all those who hurt you, but it's much harder to actually forgive them. Forgiveness can be difficult. It's not something you can simply do, like cooking a meal. Nor can you simply decide to forgive someone and be over with it. A mere decision doesn't remove your hurt and resentment. Forgiveness requires understanding. According to the teachings of Vedanta, all suffering is ultimately due to ignorance and immature ways of thinking. And as we're about to see, ignorance and immature thinking are the main obstacles to forgiveness. Forgiveness requires a completely new perspective on the painful events that happened, a perspective that's gained with the help of emotional and spiritual wisdom. My guru liked to explain forgiveness with this particular example. Imagine that you're caring for a baby, holding him tenderly in your arms, when he suddenly has a temper tantrum. He cries and screams and swings his arms around wildly. Suppose he accidentally hits you in the face, so hard that it really hurts. Would you get angry at him? Would you shout, "Why did you do that?" Or would your feelings get hurt? Would you feel sad because he hit you even though you were lovingly caring for him? In fact, you wouldn't feel even a trace of anger or emotional hurt. On the other hand, suppose you got into a huge argument with a coworker and she actually slapped your face. How would you feel? You might feel outraged, furious, burning with anger. Or you might feel deeply hurt, emotionally wounded, and sink into a pit of sadness and self-pity. Why would you react so differently to the baby and the coworker? You know that the baby isn't able to control his behavior yet. He hasn't grown sufficiently mature to restrain himself, both physically and emotionally. Your coworker, on the other hand, is much more mature. But the fact is, under certain circumstances, adults also lack the ability to restrain themselves, physically and emotionally. Adults sometimes act impulsively. They say hurtful words and even harm others, often as a result of being overcome by their emotions. If they had enough maturity and self-discipline, they wouldn't behave in such ways. But, like children, adults, too, sometimes lose self-control. None of us are perfect. When we're overwhelmed by intense emotions, it's all too easy to momentarily lose self-control and swerve from the path of dharma, righteousness, even though we know better. And in those moments, we can hurt someone. Inside us all is a powerful force of nature called Prakriti that, under certain circumstances, can lead us to act impulsively. In the Bhagavad Gita, Sri Krishna says, Prakritam, according to nature, yanti bhutani, all creatures act. Nigraha kim karishyati, how can it be restrained? The ability to restrain ourselves is gained through a process of becoming emotionally mature and self-disciplined. But what can you do until that process of maturation is complete, which is the case for children and for many adults as well? Those who hurt you probably did so because they were overcome by the forces of nature, Prakriti. They weren't mature enough to resist inner pressures that grew strong enough to push them off the path of dharma and lead them to commit harmful acts. When you understand the tremendous power of Prakriti and the helplessness of those who lack the maturity to resist its force, then you can begin to appreciate the inevitability of hurtful deeds in life. Just like the baby wasn't able to restrain himself, the same is true for those who hurt you. And just like you don't blame a baby for his actions, you need not blame or hold on to resentment towards those who hurt you when you understand completely. Eventually, when no trace of blame or resentment remains in your heart, you'll find that forgiveness has already taken place. Not because of anything you did, but because of understanding. Then your process of emotional healing will be complete, and painful memories of the event will no longer trouble you. Note that none of this is meant to suggest that hurtful behavior is somehow acceptable or that it should be tolerated. There's no excuse for harmful deeds, nor is there any justification for allowing others to continue hurting you. In fact, the principles of Dharma dictate that you should always protect yourself from harm. This lesson is meant to help you gain understanding and forgiveness. It's not meant to promote complacency or passivity. The next exercise can help you let go of any blame or resentment that still lingers from an emotionally painful event. It uses a familiar mantra, Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om, peace, peace, peace. This mantra is a prayer for Shanti, inner peace. But in a way, it's also a prayer for emotional healing. Because inner peace arises when your process of emotional healing is complete. As we discussed in the previous lesson, chanting a mantra with a melody helps invoke your emotions, and being emotionally engaged is really important for this kind of meditation. So I'll chant the mantra with a simple melody, and you can chant with me silently. Right now, you'll need to choose 2 particular events in your life that you will contemplate upon in this exercise. The first event is one in which you hurt someone quite badly through something you said or did, and you still feel guilty about the incident. The second event is one in which someone hurt you quite badly, and you continue to blame the person and feel resentful. To make this exercise as helpful as possible, it's best to choose incidents that are emotionally significant, events that still make you wince when you recall them. For this exercise, it's best if you sit in a place that's suitable for meditation. You can listen to this exercise using a laptop computer, a tablet, or a mobile device like your phone. This exercise is also available as a podcast or download from our website, using the links in the video description below. I hope you are now seated comfortably in a suitable place. This exercise will take about 10 to 15 minutes. First, sit with a proper posture, as we discussed before. Close your eyes gently, and take a deep breath to get settled down. Now, make a sankalpa to affirm your intention and commitment to meditate. Acknowledge the fact that you have many unfulfilled responsibilities and issues that need to be addressed. Since you don't want to be distracted by those things during this meditation, you can give yourself permission to set all those concerns aside, just for the next 10 minutes or so. Next, we'll perform the progressive relaxation exercise, like in previous lessons. Start by turning your attention to your feet. Become aware of sensations there. Notice the sense of pressure as your feet press down. Notice the touch of your clothing and feelings of warmth or coolness. Now, become aware of any tension that might be held in the muscles of your feet, and let go of that tension. Allow those muscles to relax completely. Next, turn your attention to your ankles and calves. Notice sensations of pressure, the touch of your clothing, warmth or coolness. Become aware of any tension held in the muscles of your ankles and calves, and let go of that tension completely. Next, turn to your knees and thighs. Notice the weight of your hands or arms where they rest. Notice any other sensations. Become aware of any tension held in your knees and thighs, and let go of that tension completely. Next, turn to the trunk of your body. Feel the weight of your body pressing down. Feel the firmness of the seat beneath you. Let go of any tension. Next, turn to your lower back and stomach together. Become aware of any sensations. Let go of any tension. Now turn to your upper back and chest. Become aware of any sensations and let go of any tension. Now your shoulders, arms, and hands. Become aware of sensations and let go of any tension. Finally, your neck, face, the muscles around your eyes, at your temples, and across your forehead. Let go of any tension. Now, we'll chant the mantra Om Shanti, which is a prayer for inner peace and emotional healing. Chant silently as you listen to me. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. 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 Now, recall the incident in which you hurt someone badly. Visualize the person you hurt and a location where the incident happened. Try to recall all the events with as much detail as possible. Reflect on the hurt and suffering caused by what you said or did. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. 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 Now, recall the particular circumstances that led you to act in that hurtful manner. Remember how you felt and any intense emotions that may have overcome you, leading you to do something you wouldn't have done in other circumstances. Consider how powerful forces of nature, Prakriti, led you to act in that manner. Recognize your own helplessness at that moment. Finally, forgive yourself for your harmful behavior and pray for more emotional maturity so that you'll never behave like that again. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. 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 Now, recall the incident in which someone hurt you badly. Visualize the person who hurt you and location where the incident happened. Try to recall all the events with as much detail as possible. Now, recall the particular circumstances that led the person to act in that way. Imagine what they were feeling at the time. Consider how intense emotions might have overcome the person, leading to actions they wouldn't have done in other circumstances. Consider how powerful forces of nature, Prakriti, led the person to act in that manner. Recognize the person's helplessness at that moment. Finally, forgive the person for their harmful acts and pray that they gain enough emotional maturity so that such things never happen again. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. 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 Now, as we conclude this exercise, just listen to these closing remarks. You can practice this technique whenever you want, listening to this exercise again or without it. You can use different incidents each time you practice it, or use the same incidents if they continue to trouble you. In the next lesson, we'll discuss the use of meditation to cultivate compassion.